very warm welcome to the Right Balance podcast. I'm Diane Wright, your host. Here is where I'd like to share stories and interviews with leading practitioners and coaches, all under the health and wellness umbrella. We'll be including holistic therapies, inspirational people, and a vast array of experts to help you get on the right path. Join me every week for advice and information that will offer help and support, because we all need the right balance in life. Good morning, everybody. I've got a rather special lady with me today. Jane Sheehan is a UK lead and foot reader. She reads personality traits in the shape and form of feet and toes. Jane qualified as a reflexologist back in 1999 and first became interested in foot reading after a reflexology session, which had a profound effect on her, as me too. And she decided to find out more about the link between feet and well-being. Jane developed her foot reading skills through a combination of experience and learning from specialist sources. After 4 years of practicing reflexology and foot reading in her spare time, Jane left her 9-to-5 office job and embarked on a career centered on her foot reading skills. The success of Jane's workshops has meant that she has been incredibly busy, not just here in the UK, but has also made several visits to the USA, United Arab Emirates, Ireland, Portugal, France, and Australia, and has made several TV appearances, including on This Morning in the UK, Live with Gabby, Today with Des and Mel, Big Brother, Little Brother, on Morning Glory, The Afternoon Show in Ireland, Inside San Diego, and Fox in the Morning in America, Summer in Dubai, and The Today Show on Channel 9 Australia. In addition, Jane is a regular on radio shows and radio stations and has various articles in such publications as the Daily Mail, Top Zante, New Woman, and Jane's foot reading skills was hailed of one of the the top 10 health trends in the Sunday Times. Also an author of several books and translation in French and Italian. Welcome, Jane. I'm so happy to see you today.
I'm exhausted hearing that long list. Thank you.
Fabulous, though. It's absolutely brilliant. And if I can take my listeners back to the very beginning, to where you probably before you qualified as a reflexologist, and what actually got you onto that path.
Oh, well, it was my careers advisor at school recommended it. No. No, I was working for an avionics design engineer, and my best friend then, Claudine, said, do you fancy for my birthday going for some reflexology? So I didn't know what it was, but I knew they did it up the road in the beauty parlour. So I booked in thinking it was a beauty treatment. We both rock up and they're doing the reflexology on her first, and they're telling her all about her health. And I'm thinking, that is mental. How do they know that just by touching the feet? So by the time it was my turn, I was dead curious. I wanted to know everything. So they start working on my feet, and every time they touched my big toe, I had tears streaming down my face. I had no control over it. And worse, it repeated on the other foot. And I'm going, I'm so sorry, I never cry in public. And she's going, there, better out than in. I think it's easy for her to say. When I'd finished that treatment, I left the room and I felt like I was in slow motion, and I felt like the rest of the world was speeded up like the mad professor on Vision On, So I thought, this is amazing. I don't know what it is, what just happened, but I have to know more. So I studied reflexology at the Chiltern School of Reflexology, and you have to do 65 hours case studies at the end of the course. In those days, it was 65. I believe it's about 100 now. And all my case studies had huge emotional reactions, as did I. So I was thinking, where is the connection? Because we were being taught clinically where which parts of the body related to which parts of the foot. But we weren't told what the emotional connection was. So I kept looking. And I met a guy called Imre Shumagi, who sadly died a few years ago. But Imre had interviewed 5,000 people about their toe shape and their personality. And he came up with a toe alphabet. I memorized it and I started using it on anyone and everyone who'd let me. And it got way out of hand. So Helena invited me to come to the play group to do a fundraiser. So I rock up at the appointed day in my scruffs, ready to hump tables and serve tea and coffee. And she went, no, you're not doing that. She said, that's your stand over there. And I'm going, stand? And she's going, yeah, you're doing foot reading. And I went, no, I'm not. No, I really am not. And she went, you are. And you can't let us down. We've got loads of people coming and we've been advertising for weeks. Well, panic. What do you do? Well, I was so unprepared. I didn't have a booking sheet, so there was no way of controlling numbers. And we had a snake of people going out of the door. And I didn't know what to charge. So we had a donation pot. And it was trial by fire because I'd never done it for money before. And the minute people pay for it, they take it so much more seriously. So my flippant sense of humour, totally unacceptable in this scenario. So I had to learn on my feet. And then I also learned that when you see depression in the feet, which shows very, very dark colour in the toe pads, I knew the theory that that's what it was. But when the lady lifted her feet up and she's got this darkness there, you shouldn't go, depression, brilliant. Because all of a sudden, it's not a theory anymore. It's a real person with a real life story in front of me. So I had to learn to keep my face appropriate for the situation, and to also, you had to say it as if it was the first time you'd said it to anyone, even by the time you got to the end of that snake of people going out the door. So I learned a hell of a lot on that one event. And then my friend Vanessa said, I'm doing a fundraiser for the Give Youth a Hand charity, and I would like you to do a talk about foot reading. And I was thinking, really? And I, again, never done that before, but if I've learned anything, say yes and then figure out how you're going to do it. So I wrote a 1-hour talk about foot reading and delivered it as part of this whole day event. And I had a queue of people after the talk asking me, where can I learn this? So I took all their names and addresses and promised to get back to them with a workshop. So then I had to write a workshop, and it was just, it evolved organically. And then it got to the stage where I'd changed jobs, and I was working for Enercon Industries at that time. And I was working with induction heat sealing machines. So you can see a very different world to the one I've just stepped into now. And it was getting too much. I was working full time. And then in the evenings, I was doing reflexology or foot reading parties. And then at the weekends, I was teaching foot reading all over the country, and something had to give. And I didn't want it to be the therapy. So I left my day job. And the first day of my new working life going full time, I was on This Morning on ITV, and I was thinking, you couldn't make this up. What a great start. If I wanted a sign to know I'm on the right track, and this is it, you know what I mean? So I haven't looked back really. And at the time, I remember saying to mum and dad, at the time I thought, well, there's only so many feet you can read, so maybe I'll have to go back to my day job when I've done them. And here we are, 20 odd years later, and I'm still doing it. And it's changed and evolved with me. So my first book, Let's Read Our Feet, I had to rewrite it. So we're in second edition now, because you benchmark what you're saying, how you're saying it, you're watching people's reactions, you're learning how to say it better, you're learning what to look for. And so I just was in a class teaching, and a student read something in a foot, and I went, where'd you get that from? And she went, well, you wrote it. And I thought, it's time to rewrite it, because I've moved on so much, I don't recognise what I said at the beginning. So we had to rewrite it. So it's now out in French and Italian. So li sono piedi, leggiamoci piedi. So that's my first book in translation. And when I first published, I thought I only needed one ISBN number because I thought I'd only write one book, and I've got 7 under my belt now.
That's fantastic, Jane. It really is. It's such, when you think back, 20 years, okay, that's quite a long time. However, what you've crammed into them 20 years is amazing. It's fabulous.
And this lockdown, we've had this COVID lockdown. I mean, I know it's a global pandemic, but we only think about our own little niche of it. But in England, where I live, we've been locked down. It feels like we've been locked down for a whole year. We haven't. We've had times in and out of it, but it's been very restricted. And a lot of people have been complaining that they're not working. I had no reflexology clients at all in that period, had no emic technique clients, no DN Chan zone clients. But what I decided to do was write more books, because that's something I could do when I couldn't get out and about. And also, I didn't write them. I assembled them. I got people to write about their expertise in reflexology. And each guru wrote a chapter, and I called it The Guru's Guide to Reflexology, Book 1. And in it, we've got 17 people sharing their different forms of reflexology. And on the strength of that, I started to get an idea from looking at the different reflexology networks on Facebook. I was listening to the questions, and a lot of them saying, what CPD course should I do? Or does anyone know a course in hormones or menopause or infertility or something like that? So my next book was The Guru's Guide to Reflexology, Book 2, all about hormones. And that has been born from the questions people have been asking. And again, different gurus, experts in their field, all contributed. I'm currently working on the French translation of Book 1. And in July, I'm going to start working on the Guru's Guide to Reflexology, Book 3, on the theme of cancer. And in the process of trying to find the right people to write a chapter, I've met some amazing reflexologists that you've probably never heard of. They're not in the teaching world. They're in the doing it world.
Yeah.
And they're the right people, I feel, that I need to speak to for the cancer book, because I want people actually in it, doing it. And one of them said to me, I would like to write a chapter on why the hell would you want to do this in the first place? Suppurating wounds, smells, And I was thinking, I never thought about it. I could do that because I am extremely squeamish, So I was thinking, hats off to them. They are doing amazing work that I don't feel I could do, because I wouldn't be able to hide the gag reaction. But they're writing for me, and the chapters that are coming in, I've told them I don't want chapters till July because I've not got the headspace for it right now. But I've already got Peter McCreath's hypno-reflexology chapter, and I've got a couple of people, Marie Duggan's, already writing. And so, and the other Jane Sheehan, there's 2 Jane Sheehans in the reflexology world. Can you believe it? And Jane Sheehan in Norwich is writing a chapter. She does reflexology and clinical hypnotherapy, and she's in the right setting to be able to help me with this chapter. But it's so funny because we keep getting each other's emails, and we keep getting clients ringing us up. And the first time I had a client from Norwich saying, can you come round and do reflexology? I was thinking, what? From like near Liverpool? It's like, really? And then I realised there must be another me, So I got in touch. We met when I was in Norwich. We met for dinner, and one day we were both submitted for the Excellence Awards at the Federation of Holistic Therapists. And I was up for Tutor of the Year, and she was up for Therapist of the Year. And
brilliant.
It confused me and her no end. So imagine what it was like for the organisers. So I said to her, let's sit next to each other just to up the ante, And I thought with hindsight, we should have worn the same colour clothing as well.
Yeah. Oh, bless. Also, Jane, with the feet as well, when you're actually looking at the feet, you mentioned the dark pads on the fingers here, on the hand, on the feet. Sorry.
Yeah.
What other sort of little aspects do you find that crop up or surprise people?
Stuff that you can read yourself.
Yeah.
I've written on my website, on the free stuff page, I've written the top 10 secrets your feet say about you. So in it, I've got things like, have you got wide feet? If you've got wide feet, you're hardworking, always on the go, can't sit still, have to be doing something all the time. And if we were to offer you a cup, you'd be getting cups out to help. You couldn't just sit there and let us do it. So that would be wide feet. Now, I don't know you. I've spoken to you once on the phone, and you like to refer to yourself as the rebel reflexologist. And so I will tell you what a rebel toe looks like.
Okay.
So I would expect your little toe to be on its side with the nail facing the wall rather than the ceiling the way it should do. Have you got
Correct.
And the other thing I think, can you wiggle your little toe?
Yeah.
So that would be adventurous, love a challenge, hate routine. If things get too routine, you deliberately upset the apple cart.
Oh my God, Jane, that's spot on. Oh my goodness. It's fabulous work.
I've got a friend who's a shoe reader, Donna Sozio in America, in Los Angeles. And she told me to look at the appropriateness of the footwear for the situation you're in. So you can also tell a rebel by the footwear. So I was in this bar, right? And there was this cute guy at the bar, and he was wearing designer top to bottom, right? And I looked at his shoes, and whilst they were designer, they were scuffed, knackered, totally just, it didn't go with the rest of him. And I thought, yeah, he's going to have a little toe on its side. He's being rebellious. Despite wearing the uniform for his group, he's not keeping up with the shoes and keeping up the appearances. So I'm thinking he's rebellious, unconventional. So I asked him, and he went, how do you know that? So I told him, I bet your little toe's on its side. So he took his shoe and sock off in the bar, as you do. And he showed me, and he did. He had a little toe on his side. And then I told him about the shoe connection. And the next thing I know, he said, come over with me over here. And I met all his friends, and they all took their shoes and socks off. And occupational hazard, you end up doing free foot readings for the whole of the pub. But his girlfriend worked for Lancashire Life. And so she wrote an article about it.
Oh,
and
wow.
It was good because I'd only just moved up here. So it helped kickstart me up here. So each time I've moved to a new place, serendipitously, I've ended up getting a boost. So I feel I'm on the right track. I feel this is what I'm meant to be doing. And you help so many people because foot reading has a serious side. I mean, it's great for showing off, as you can imagine. But it has a serious therapeutic side. So when I'm doing a foot reading party, everyone's in the other room and they're going, sending them through to me one at a time. And I'm reading the feet, and they go back in the other room and they go, what did she say? So that's kind of the fun side. But what they don't know is when they come in the room with me, I am reading their emotions and their personality. And I am reading it, warts and all, if you pardon the pun. And I'm not telling you something you don't already know, but I am hitting the nerve. And all of a sudden you feel exposed. And it's the first time maybe you've had the chance to discuss it openly with a neutral person. And so it's therapy through the back door. You can bring in counselling skills or coaching skills or just being there for someone. An example I like to tell that I think will hit home, and don't believe I'm always looking at depression, but using that as an example because we've spoken about it. You know, I normally see depression here. Well, one day I saw a lady that the feet were purpley black all the way down, which is very unusual. And then in zone 4 across, it was kind of darker with red bubbling to the surface through it. Okay. So this is mega unusual. And I said to her, admit it when you don't know, I said to her, I've never seen this before, but let me show you how I work it out. And maybe you can help me by putting me on track. So I told her, you're feeling low across the board, but it's not stemming from you. It's stemming from a family or private life situation. And you're angry, the anger's bubbling through under the surface, but it's beginning to show. And I'm wondering what's happened. And she said, I work in hospice, so she's used to dealing with big cases. And she said, my daughter has had gynae problems. And she said she's had 2 of her 3 test results back, and I know it's malignant, but no one's telling her till the 3rd test comes back. So this is the mother, the grandmother of her kids, knowing something none of the family yet know.
Yeah.
And she's having to deal with it with no support, no help, because no one else knows yet. So I'm in the position where I can be her sounding board. Finally, she's got someone she can at least just let the anger, let the upset, just get it up and out. And us women, we like to figure out what we're thinking by talking, and we don't need someone to fix it for us. We need someone to listen.
Yeah, it's true, Jane. It is. Yeah.
So that's what I'm trying to say. It's great fun. It's got a really good, fun vibe, but it has an extremely therapeutic, serious side to it as well.
Yeah. No, brilliant. The other thing that I wanted to ask you, does the feet change as we grow? Sort of from a child into an adult, do you see changes and things like that as we grow?
Yeah, some things change and some things stay the same. And I've kind of developed my own personal theories the more I've done it. So I did get the opportunity to see babies at a baby clinic in the baby cafe in Buckingham. And what I realised is we're all born with black feet. Like, I wouldn't know this because I've not got any kids around me. My sister, my brother have never had kids. So what I realised is they're born with black feet. And as they start to walk, they should develop an arch, but not everyone does, but they should develop an arch. So when I first see the feet, I just look at the toes and the basic outline. Because when you're first born, you're born with your core personality, the thing that you need to fulfill your life's purpose.
Right.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So when you then start to live, so the old nature versus nurture argument, well, it is both. As you start to live, you will be put into different contexts. And in those contexts, your strengths can be strengths or they can become weaknesses. And for me, my opinion is trying to find the place where your personality and attributes are a strength is your purpose in life.
Yeah.
That is your purpose in life. So you're off purpose when what you feel are your good points are seen as a weakness. Then you are off track. Then you need to readjust and get back on track by finding out where would it be a strength.
Oh, that's really interesting. I can sort of understand that myself, how things have changed within me as well. And if things change, just another little question, if something happens in our life, will it automatically be seen in the feet?
Only if it bothers you. Again, what I've been noticing, like some people have dreadful lives and immaculate feet, right? Some people have what most people would think was a cushy situation, but they've got all sorts of lumps, bumps and blemishes. Now, it's the lumps, bumps, blemishes and colour changes that I'm reading. And what I'm learning is it doesn't matter what happens to you in life, it's how you handle it that counts. And the people with the nicest feet are the people who don't let it bother them. So it's not that they don't have bad situations, it's that they deal with it. So the ones where they're all blemished tend to hang on to it, I'm generalising. Sometimes it's just physical. Sometimes a virus is a virus. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they tend to hang on to the issue instead of dealing with it and moving on. So I've learned that if it bothers you, it will still show on the feet. But if it doesn't bother you, it won't show. Or occasionally you get someone who's a little bit different. So once I saw a lady's foot where nothing showed. I was looking at the top of the foot and nothing showed. And I thought, gosh, this is going to be really hard to read. and I saw a tiny, tiny speck. As I was looking, it showed. It wasn't there when I started. And it just showed. And I started to read it because there was nothing else to read. And as I started to read it, more and more showed. And so at the end of the reading, I explained to her what happened. And she said, oh, yeah, that's very me. She said, I always think nobody will be interested in me. So I only show a bit. And then as they start to pay an interest, I'll show a bit more. And that's exactly what happened during her foot reading.
Wow.
So,
it's like her coming out of her own shell in a way, isn't it? That's absolutely fascinating. Also, Jane, can you read a foot from a photograph, or is it only in person?
I can read a foot from a photograph, but I prefer in person because your feet are a snapshot of how you were in that moment. And you are changing from minute to minute to minute to minute. And so your feet change dynamically, and colour is the fastest thing to change. So that's the thing I look for first. I do foot readings over Zoom, and it's very hard. If I asked you to show me your foot right now, you'd be doing all sorts of acrobatics trying to get the foot to the screen. So what I do is I get them to send me a top view and a bottom view of the feet, and I specify how on my website. And they send me the foot photographs in advance. And then once I know that I can read them, I then send them a Zoom appointment. But they book their time schedule via my scheduler app on my website. Okay. So they book their slot, they send me the photographs, and then when I know I can read it, I then contact them with Zoom info, and then we do the appointment at the time they pick. And I have this set up, right? You'll have the same background when you're talking to me. I put the photographs down on my laptop, and I'm talking to you like this so I can see your reaction to what I'm saying. But I'm looking at the foot photograph back at you and picking things out. And sometimes I'll hold it up to the camera and I'll point to what I'm talking about and that sort of thing. And it should take me 20 minutes for the foot reading plus 2 cards. I like to finish with 2 cards at the end. But because it's on Zoom and because often these people are calling me from other countries, I allow an hour's time slot because that way you're not rushed, and they want to have a chit chat like, oh, I saw you at the such and such conference. We can kind of share tidbits with each other. So that's how I handle it when I'm doing it on Zoom.
Oh, brilliant.
When I'm doing it at foot parties, I allocate 20 minutes per person for a maximum of 8 people.
And just to tell the listeners as well, you do workshops throughout the UK, depending on how we are with this pandemic, etc.
Yeah.
And can those details be found on your website as well, Jane?
Yeah, if you go to footreading.com, you'll find my English ones. If you go to Lecture d'APA, you'll find my French-speaking ones, so France and Belgium at the moment. And I haven't got any in Italy because I don't speak Italian, but there is an Italian website for the sale of my book, my poster, and my animal poster. Just this morning, my animal poster arrived back translated. So the graphic designer is now working on making that ready. So that'll be appearing on the Italian website in a day or 2.
Oh, that's fantastic. All these, just to tell the listeners as well, all Jane's connections and links and everything will be on the show notes at the end of this show. Just to, for people to contact you and things like that, Jane. I would like just to round up and say, absolutely fascinating subject. I do have your books and I have read them, and I do amplify it into some of my treatments as well as a reflexologist. And it's fascinating, absolutely fascinating.
I bet you've had some really interesting conversations with your clients as a result.
Honestly, I work blind. This isn't for another show, but I work blind when I work. I don't do a consultation. So it's really interesting for me to work on what's happening, like you say, today on the feet. Yeah, in the moment. Yeah. And I think that's really interesting. And sometimes, looking at sort of past issues, like you say, that maybe haven't come through properly. That's just my interpretation. But it's quite interesting how we store things as well on the feet. Fascinating. Absolutely.
I've seen a corn disappear in front of me.
Really?
And I knew the theory that cell had memory and therefore you can let go of the memory. So I knew theoretically it could go like that. Never really believed it, but it happened at a party I was at. I've written about it in my book, but it happened at a party. I was talking to her, hovering my finger over it, talking to her about the situation. And there was someone behind me looking. And when I finished, I took my finger away and it had shrunk to a tiny, tiny speck. And the girl behind me went, "Oh my God," she said, "where's it gone?" And I was thinking, I was almost going to persuade myself that, oh, maybe it wasn't that big to start with, but I couldn't deny it because she'd seen it too.
You. Wow. Oh, Jane, I could talk to you for hours about this. It's such a fascinating subject. And anybody who's never sort of been to a foot reader, I would recommend Jane. The skills and expertise is number one. I'll take the signs, the money later. No, I'm joking. Jane, thank you so much. And as I say, all Jane's notes will be at the end on the show notes, where you can contact Jane or even contact her for a foot reading yourselves via Zoom. Thank you so much, Jane, for all your time and expertise, and we'll catch up with you very soon. Thank you so much.
Thanks very much. Bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening to the Right Balance podcast. Hope you enjoyed the content. Please tell your friends and family, and don't forget to subscribe to the show. It will also be uploaded to the social media channels like Facebook and YouTube, including all the show notes. I hope you'll join me next week. Stay safe.